Hey, what's up, everybody? Dr. RJ here, Colorado Chiropractic Association. Again, we're getting ready to promote our Rev Up, which is our Relevance, Excellence, and Value Tour for the Colorado Chiropractic Association. So today, I've got someone on with me that I can't wait to get out to Colorado. I can't wait to hear him speak in person. He's done so much for chiropractic. He's been practicing for years. He's written a few books. One of the coolest things about him is he teaches the Diplomate on Philosophy. So if you guys don't know who I'm talking about, spoiler alert, it's Dr. Rob Sinnott. Hey, Doc, how are you today?
I'm doing fantastic. How are you doing, RJ?
Fantastic, man. I'm so excited to have you on here because it's like any guy that teaches philosophy stuff and writes books on it. It's like bringing me back to like the heads behind you, right? It's like the fountainhead. You're representing that today. And that's what chiropractic's all about. It's about sticking to our tenets and values that make us unique and distinct.
That's the thing. That's our philosophy is what sets us apart from everything. There are chiropractors who do all kinds of things in this world. And the one thing that separates a chiropractic thought from any other kind is it's our compass. I mean, our philosophy. It's how we know where north is in our profession. And it buried in my books in the cover, if you look, there's a compass rose, because it's very important to me that philosophy is always that compass. I didn't make a big deal out of it in the book or anything, but it means something to me. But having that direction and being able to explain our philosophy in simple terms is really something that's very important. It's something that they were very good at in prior generations in chiropractic. And it's one of the reasons, this topic of miracle cases, it's one of the reasons that was such a big thing in their generation is because, today we have, and, I'm not here to pick on, our education system or any of those types of things. That's not the point. But the thing is, we come out with these blinders of what chiropractic is. And, it's kind of like that. There's a scene in Seabiscuit, which is one of the great chiropractic movies of all time in my mind, where they take the horse out and they have it run the track. And Seabiscuit, I'm not a horse person, so if I screw this up, people in Colorado, I have my apologies. But Seabiscuit was a training horse. Its whole purpose was to chase the lead horse and make it run faster. It was never meant to. It was basically meant to come in second and look at the horse's rear end in front of it. It's just like our profession. I mean, there's no better analogy for where so many people come out of school, in these years anymore. Is that we're meant to come in a second, and we're not thinking that we're not seeing what a horse is, and the way they fixed that horse, if you want to use that term, in the movie is they had it out, took it outside of the paddock where it did nothing but left turns, in a circle, and they let it run and just let it run until it didn't want to run anymore, and that's when that horse figured out what a horse was. And we have to have that moment for ourselves in our profession when we realize what we are. And not we as in me, we as in the way we think, the way we allow people to access chiropractic, because we come out with this blinder in some way. No one comes out with perfect vision of chiropractic. It's an impossibility now as it was 100 years ago. We have to grow into it and understand and put those pieces together for ourselves to really make it something that's palatable to people in practice. The posters behind you, they don't mean anything without you explaining them. Do you know what I mean? And it's the philosophy you use when you filter those images behind you of that upper cervical spine sitting the way it's sitting. When you filter that through your mentality, through that compass, the way you see things, now it becomes meaningful to a prospective patient or whatever term you want to use. That's what it's all about. And what we haven't done a good job at in this era is taking those blinders off so we can see what a chiropractor really is. There's a viewpoint in our profession that chiropractic scope of practice is certain types. I'm quoting this: certain types of uncomplicated low back pain. Show me a person that isn't complicated. Number one, certain types of low back pain. I mean, geez, you guys are really stepping out on a really thick branch there. If we give people the opportunity to understand our message, for me, one of the big moments for me as an early graduate was realizing that when I talk about chiropractic, I'm not talking about it for my benefit, my financial benefit or my benefit in any way. I'm talking about it because I don't have the right not to allow that person to understand what I understand. And when we look at it that way, it's not selling. I'm not selling anything. I'm selling the opportunity to people to see a better way towards health, which is, we're the only profession that really offers health. So I'm bogarting your time.
No, it's nothing to do with me, man. You're the guy on here. People want to hear you. They don't want to hear me. I'm just the hype guy.
Well, and the whole idea of a miracle case, the last director of BJ's clinic was Dr. Crowder. He was a 47 grad. He taught for BJ, and we became, I don't want to say friends. I don't like that term with the people I looked up to. I always thought of them as being here and me just trying to understand them better. But I asked him about miracle cases, and he said, well, there's no such thing as a miracle case. I said, I understand laws of cause and effect. I totally understand. He said, but the reason we don't see those cases today is we're not seeing the same people. We're not in, it's not an invitation to health anymore. It's an invitation to, you have these 8 danger signals in the yellow pages or whatever it is, or depending which school you went to, you might have 12. I don't know. But I mean, is this really what chiropractic is about? Of course it isn't, and all of us that practice out there want a bigger understanding of what we do. And we hear broad scope and narrow scope. And what it really is, it's about application. Either you have a narrow application of certain types of uncomplicated low back pain, or you have a broad application of, if you have a spine, it should be checked. And I think that one of them is a lot more based on science and one's based on dogma. And unfortunately, that dogmatic view of low back pain is ridiculous because kidney cancer causes low back pain. Do we fix kidney cancer? I mean, there's a lot of reasons for all of these things. So to narrow it down to something so minimal, I have a very fortunate practice. I see a lot of unusual things that come in my door, and they come in because I talk about chiropractic. I don't talk about low back pain. It's kind of like during this COVID era, I could care less about COVID. I could care less about a mask. I could care less about any of those things. I'm not going to argue that medicine is doing medicine wrong. I don't care what they do. I use that as an opportunity to explain chiropractic to my community. And I didn't have as many troubles as a lot of other chiropractors I've talked to, because I didn't care what their view was. Their view isn't my problem. My view is my problem. And if I could explain what a healthy neuroimmune response is to people, they're going to understand that much better. And I wasn't born with this mentality that I have towards health. It was developed in me by people who took their time to explain things to me. And we have to take that time with people. If we're going to talk about things like epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, and I mean, even bedwetting and some of these types of things, which we have some good data for, which is really interesting. To see some of the science of what we're seeing with some of these people and how their entire bodies are coordinating better, and we can show that mathematically through science now. It's a different time we're in. I mean, when I got out of school 30 some years ago, we didn't know near what we know now from a scientific perspective. I mean, the opportunity today to see those types of cases or people that have those types of incoordinations is much higher. Quite honestly, I remember there was a young graduate who was a fantastic chiropractor, and she traveled the country because everybody wanted her to come to their school or their event and show this video of this little boy who came from the Middle East who couldn't walk. And over a period of weeks, she videotaped him every time he came in, and you could see him start to use his legs and start to walk. And then he's running down the hallway. And it was one of those things that makes your eyes tear up. But, those people are in our community. They're not only in the Middle East, we have that opportunity, and we also have that responsibility. And that's really kind of my message, is talking about, when I see someone, whether even a bedwetter, well, it doesn't matter what it is. When I see a change occur after a chiropractic adjustment, that side of my brain says, why did that happen? I want to understand this better, because the better I can understand all aspects of what I'm looking at, the better I can explain our philosophy to people through analogy. And, there's nothing like having even a bedwetter come into the practice and, after a few visits and say, I'm just glad it wasn't my fault, because all this time, this kid has thought less of themselves because of this. I mean, it seems like such a small thing, a bedwetter, but, you're changing that kid's life forever. And, we all see these things. Everybody sees these types of cases, but we should see a lot more of them. And it's not that we're taking care of the bedwetting and those types of things. I mean, quite honestly, in my practice, when someone says to me after a few visits, they'll say, "Oh, this is doing better, that's doing better," whatever it is. I always say something like, "Do you need another bottle of those tablets Gail gave you at the front desk on the first day?" Well, she didn't give me any tablets. Like Gail ripped them off, walking out the door. Well, if I didn't put anything into you, and I don't remember taking a scalpel and moving your anatomy around like a surgeon would, what did I do? And they'll always say the same thing. "Oh, I see what you're doing," or "I get it." And I'll say, "No, really, I don't want you to explain it scientifically perfectly or whatever. I'm just curious that if someone asked you what I do, well, how would you explain what I did for you?" And I'm not doing that to test them. I'm doing that to test me. I need to know if I'm explaining this well enough, because if they can't pass that message on, well, I just talk to one person, and I know that's how you build a practice. There was the Chavez, not the one in South America, the one in California, who was the big organizer of farm workers back, in the 60s. And, a reporter asked him, "How do you get so many people to follow you and listen to your voice?" And he said, "Well, first I tell one person, then I tell another person." They said, No. You have hundreds of people here to listen to you speak." And he said, "Oh, well, first I tell one person and then I tell another person." And that's really our opportunity as chiropractors. We have that person in front of us. We have a great chance to do something fantastic for them. And that's explain health and explain what we offer as chiropractors, which is, just looking at an interference to that communication in the body. And an easy way to do that is to quit calling it the immune system. It's the neuroimmune system. It's the neuroendocrine system. It's the neurorespiratory system, because the pivot to get into chiropractic is instant then. Do you see what I mean? It's just those small changes we can make in our language that make a difference. And, so we're going to get into all of those things, a little bit of this, a little bit of that. It's not practice management. I'm going to talk about the science and the neurology and those things, but talk about it in a practical sense.
No, I 100% agree. I love bringing the neuro back. And it's, when you have people come in for day one and they're meeting you and they're asking all these questions, you're like, yeah, everyone forgets to tell you about the neuro in front of the muscle system. And PT said this, and then I'm like, they're forgetting the brain. And it's, it's great to hear you speak like that and all the wisdom you're going to bring. And I think people are going to get so much out of just this we've done for the last 10 minutes and your talk. And I think that's what people need to understand and really realize, that when you're teaching chiropractic, it might not affect your practice, but it's going to affect chiropractic, which then affects us as a whole. And, one of the big goals for me as president of the CCA is I just really want to make more people in Colorado go to chiropractors. Why? Because that's better for all of us. The more the community uses us, the better we can be and the more we can do and the more miracle cases we will see, because we're the first thought in everyone's mind and not the seventh or eighth.
Yeah. I mean, there's nothing like having a child who should have been walking and crawling years ago that's just sitting there, to have them walk after the first adjustment. I mean, it's pretty hard to keep your ego in check, but we have to, because I didn't do that. I don't know how to do that. I mean, I remove interference. Their body was just waiting all this time for that. And think of how many people in their life that went to a chiropractor that could have explained that to them, but their chiropractor didn't give them the information they need to pass that on. And that's the thing, is we need to open up those lines of communication in our practice, in our community, so that we can do a better job of explaining this science. And just the autonomic poster behind you is a fantastic tool, but it's only a tool because of what's in your mind that makes sense of that to the patient.
Yeah, I was adjusted from 12 years old and never really understood chiropractic. Then I got it when I was adjusted at 27, and so much so that I looked over at my now wife and I said, "Oh my God, I get it." And so that's what we called our office, was "I Get It Chiropractic," because I finally understood what chiropractic could do. And I'm like, if that worked for me, I want to take it to the world. So, I'm excited for you, man. I can't wait to hear you speak. I know a lot of people are so grateful you're coming out to Colorado. And again, it's going to be October 21st to 23rd. It's going to be a great time. Come and hear all these wonderful speakers. Come meet Dr. Sinnott. You'll bring some books out, I hope.
I can do that. I'm looking forward to this. I saw the list of speakers, and you've got a lot of great opportunities for people to hear some really good voices in the profession. So I'm looking forward to it myself.
Yeah, and we also brought in for the chiropractic assistants some CA training, some team training. I like to call them team or the chiropractic angels. We're going to bring a lot of value to them too, so they help us. It's a cohesive team chiropractic. There's no I. Well, there's a couple I's, but we don't want to talk about that. One last plug. I like to ask every single person I do on here is what's the value of a state association? Why should people join their state association?
Well, I can give you an example from my state association. My old friends in this profession, and they're not all gone yet, were arrested here in Illinois because they were chiropractors. And it's so important to have a voice. I mean, they had meetings at our state capitol, which is about 3.5 hours south of Chicago, where they'd have between 3,000 and 6,000 patients that would make go down in caravans to lobby for us to try to get a bill so that we could stop seeing chiropractors get arrested. That doesn't happen on its own. You have to have an organization behind it, and they did here in Illinois. And I have to tell you, even the fact that some of those early chiropractors that were good friends of mine that graduated in the 40s and 50s, early 50s, that they were able to have a defense. They had chiropractors handle their practice for them if they went into prison, and people would contribute to help their family keep food on the table. I mean, those are huge things. And to be honest, it hasn't changed a lot, except for the fact that we don't have that fear of going to jail and losing everything anymore. But when we have an issue like COVID or something, you have to have a state association in place to help lobby for you to be able to do what we do. And I know Colorado had some issues this year, but I think if every chiropractor in the state belonged to the association, the tools that an association needs would have been so much more accessible to handle that, and it would have never been any kind of a problem. It's vital to belong to an association. I just can't understand chiropractors that don't. In Texas has the CST, and Florida has all these associations across the country. Whenever someone asks me, "Do you know a chiropractor in Texas?" I tell them, "Get a CST member. Don't go to anybody that isn't a member, because if you're not going to join your state association, how seriously are you going to take my referral?" Do you know what I mean? It means something to me when I refer someone that they belong to an association.
No, that's very well said. I mean, that's a lot of the time we get asked, what value do you have? And I don't think people understand the work that, the team at the CCA, Andrea and Erica and Danielle do, and all of us on the board. Like, we were sitting there with our lobbyists for weeks trying to figure out which people that are going through the election cycle we want to partner up with to, fight for chiropractic. So we do put in a lot of work, and you're right. We had issues going on in Colorado, and we went to fight, and we battled and we won, and people saw value in that. But you're absolutely right, man. You have to join the fight. Sitting on the sidelines, if you don't want to fight, then give us your money so we can fight for you. And
Right.
Every single day we battle for chiropractic, and I will continue to battle for chiropractic till the day I die. And I will always do that because I love what we do. And it's the greatest profession. Can't even call it profession. It's the greatest honor to serve humanity that we get.
It's such an opportunity. It is. We have such an opportunity every day. The only love you keep is the love you give away, according to Albert Hubbard, who is one of BJ's contemporary, not L. Ron Hubbard, different guy. And to me, it's an honor to get to come into this office every day and take care of the best people around. I mean, that trust me with their newborns. I mean, to hand somebody a newborn, your first kid, it's got, even if they really believe that I'm going to take good care of them, that's got to make you a little bit nervous to see, like I'm going to hook them into the cervical chair and do, something like that. They don't know what's going to happen to this child. And to give that level of trust that's what we're in a position of trust. And it's because we explain what we are and what we have to offer that's so different, so unique that no one in this world can do what you do.
No, I love it, man. I love it so much. And again, super appreciate you for coming out, and
Oh, thank you for the opportunity.
absolutely. Thank you for showing me my wonderful stomping grounds of the Fountainhead there. When people always ask what school did you go to, I'd always tell them the Fountainhead, and they'd look at me like, what? Us that know, when you know, and when you don't, you'll figure it out.
There you go.
So again, everybody, just thank you for our time today. And we just want to thank you again, Dr. Sinnott, for being on here. Again, look forward to seeing you in person in October. And again, thanks, man, and many blessings, and keep on guarding the profession and guarding it well.
Can't wait. I'll come loaded for bear.
Let's go. All right. Thank you so much, sir. Have a blessed day.
You too.